Feels like I'm out for my normal Sunday ride, but I'm not. I'm off to do my first official It's a Race race. I'm off to do the West Head Road Race. This monthly road race is held in the Northern National Park of Sydney. It spans across about 10 different grades. I'm going to be entering Open B grade today. That means I've got 3 laps of West Head ahead of me, around about 65 kilometres.
What are you filming for?
YouTube. Right.
Morning.
Morning. This race is literally in my backyard, and it's something that I've been meaning to do for a very long time. But the whole jump into actual road racing has felt like a bit of a leap too far for me until now.
For whatever reason, I've just noticed that the last West Head road race for the year is this weekend. It is one of my goals this year to do an official road race. If this is the last one, it kind of feels like time's running out on that one. I've never raced before in Australia. I haven't never raced anywhere. What do I even need to do to be able to enter this? It seems like there's maybe 2 steps. First, I need to become an Oz Cycling member, which in turn makes me a club member. Well, that's cool because I have been looking to join a local club. It says here that I can join on a free trial. So as an absolute beginner, having never joined a club before, I can get a 4-week trial for free, which means that I can race for 4 weeks for free. That's really cool. Okay, and then I have to register for the race on a website called Bunshare. This seems to be like an event management system and a payment gateway for paying race fees. Okay, $35 to enter West Head Road Race. Okay, I'm registered. Now I just show up on the day, get my race numbers, and pray for the best.
Here we are. Today's the day. I'm as surprised as you are. And to be honest, I'm feeling a little bit nervous. I reached out to the team at Attacker to pick up one of their new Race 3.0 kits. I'm going to blame Lee Turner for the colourway. He mocked my black on black kit at the Barrel Classic, asking me if I was going to a funeral. This one's for you, mate. Or maybe I'm just channeling the motivation from my Zwift race captain, Benner.
B grade, or Cat B, does 3 laps of West Head for about a total of 65 kilometres. I captured footage from the first lap, which I'll use to give a bit of a sense of my experience. I've ridden this course many times. It's literally in my backyard. I know the route. It's basically a 20-kilometre out and back, but it's characterised by its undulating hills. There are like 7 crests on each lap, none of which last more than about 3 minutes, but they all have pretty decent elevation.
Rolling.
I didn't really know what to expect. All my racing to date has either been long Gran Fondo style road races or racing on Zwift. On Zwift, I've raced on both Category A and Category B, and I can be quite competitive in the latter. The race starts with a short roll into the hill ahead of the 180-degree turnaround to head back along the course. This spot is tight and technical and would prove a fairly critical junction in coming laps. Maybe a bad habit trickling in from Zwift, but I started this one out really heavy, and I quickly found myself on the front. I wasn't quite sure what to do. I wanted to be sitting in the bunch. I almost felt like I was the new guy being tricked into pulling the bunch along. At this point, I was fairly certain there were a couple up the road already. Surely this couldn't be the selection point in the race. About the only thing I knew at this point was that I was really working. first attack comes with the speed of the first downhill. We'll call this guy Cheeky because he's wearing Cheeky.cc bibs. I think to myself that he's going to make 3 out the front, and that might give them the ability to stay away. So I lay down some more power, but you can see the guy riding with me on the front. He lets off at this point and moves into my wheel. Here I am, stuck again, doing the work. Fortunately, there are others that are not satisfied with this situation. Pastries.cc moves around here, but for me I think this will be 4 and that's going to be trouble. This concern is quickly resolved though because we catch Cheeky. I want to sit in his wheel, but he's not putting out the watts that we're going to need to bridge. Unfortunately, this is also where my rear camera stops recording. You're not long though, Cheeky goes again, and he has grey on his wheel this time. I'm happy to follow them up the first major crest. We start to roll turns and then Cheeky pulls in and lets us know that we've got a gap. Our 3 plus the 3 out in front, we might have something at this point, but it was short-lived. Although at this point, I'm fairly happy to let someone else set the pace. We're only 7 kilometers in at this point and plenty of matches have already been used. A bit further up the road and sure enough the bunch is with us. As we approach the climbs ahead of the turning point, we can see the breakaway group ahead of us, and there are a few others that are ready to help us close the gap. Okay, with everyone back together, we approach the wall. This infamous little climb is just before the turnaround point on this course. It's short, but it's spicy. It's only about 200 meters long, but it ramps up to over 12%. To my surprise, everybody hits it full gas, and I'm talking like 10 watts per kilo up these ramps. I was already in zone 4 before this little pinch, so this put me deep into zone 5. I'm over 190 beats per minute at this point. There's a small bit of respite as we crest this first hill, before heading straight back up again. The second rise is not as bad, and everyone is a little bit more controlled as we head into the turnaround point. I make the turn in 4th place, but looking back as we turn, there is no long tail coming in, which means that the whole bunch is in my wheel. This is the first time I see my friend Otto, who I didn't realise was racing in this one. Chatting to him before the race, he was trying to convince me to enter into A grade. I'm pretty glad I didn't. I don't think that Zwift FTP and grading translates well into these types of races. I was trying to get some gel on board, but these two Manly Warringah guys who were originally out front seemed pretty eager to push the agenda. So I was going to try and stay in the mix with them as best as I could. Sitting in their wheel felt sustainable. I was trying to make sure I took my turn on the front, but I didn't have a great sense of cohesion riding with these two guys. I would come through for my turn, but then they would both quickly come back through. I think I was reading it wrong. I'll put this one down to my own lack of experience. But on one of the rises they kicked and this snapped the elastic. They literally rode me off the wheel while I was doing 5 watts per kilo. I was already in zone 5 and I didn't have any kick left. As it flattened out, I tried to push, but I was pretty empty. I was surprised to have had no help from the bunch at this stage. But I gave the elbow and they answered. I was quickly absorbed into the bunch. It wasn't much further up the road that we caught the Manly Warringah pair. I guess the pace wasn't sustainable for them either. A quick word of encouragement from Otto as he pulls through here in the wheel of Charlie, another friend and colleague of mine. I'm really going to have to focus if I'm going to avoid getting dropped in this one. We crossed the finish line for the end of the first lap. My racing is pretty much done for today. My plan now is just survival. I want to finish in the bunch. The next 2 laps look pretty much like this. Probably what I should have been doing from far earlier in the race. My GoPro battery didn't make it all the way to the end, but I make the turn for home within the top 10 or so riders. But I just don't have the legs to kick for the line. I don't know for sure where I finished, but my estimate is around about 15th place. Here is some footage of the top 10 guys coming through the finish. Thanks Max Man for this footage from your video.
Now that was way harder than I thought it was going to be. I definitely went out too hard, spent way too much time on the front on the first lap. Managed to settle down as the laps went out, but cooked. Really good experience though, I have to say. Really strong riders. Amazed how punchy it was, especially through the climb sections. Managed to see a lot of familiar faces out there. Otto, Charlie from the Atlassian Cycling Club. Great to have a race with you guys today. 2 guys that were real inspirations for me when I was starting out. Saw Max Man hitting it up in C grade today. Had a good chat with Chris Miller on the way home. Didn't manage the triple in A grade, but well done, mate. Overall, really friendly and inclusive vibes. It was a good time.
Now that I've had a chance to reflect on my first road race, there's a few things that I might consider a bit differently for next time. 65 kilometres is a fairly long race, much longer than the average Zwift race that I do. So I probably don't need to spend as much time on the front as I did in this race. It's just not sustainable for the distance. I will be making a point to be sitting in a lot more and to be using my matches when it counts rather than trying to get away. Which brings me to my next point. Getting away is something that I don't think would happen on this course. I was terribly worried that there was going to be a break and that I wouldn't be a part of the move that was in the break, but I don't think that that's something that's going to happen here. So I probably, again, don't need to be doing the work to try and reel them back in so quickly. The bunch fairly organically did that themselves. I've got some work to do in terms of working with a group. When I got away with those Manly Warringah guys, It was clear I didn't really know what I was doing taking turns. It's very different on Zwift. Obviously you can get away and you just alternate how much power you're putting out, and the game naturally pushes you forward and back so that you can work with your partner. Obviously here you have to think a lot more about it. You have to slot in at the right time, you have to take your turn at the right time. I need some practice in this space. General awareness is something that I need to work on as well. Firstly, staying present when I get really deep in the well. When you're on Zwift, on a stationary bike, you can go really deep. You can even close your eyes and just sweat the pain away. This is not possible in a race like this. You have to remain present at all times. I had a pretty sketchy moment at one stage where I did drift off the side of the road into the gravel and sticks on the side. I had to bunny hop back onto the road. Fortunately, everything went okay, but it was a little bit scary. The other big one is knowing what's going on around me. I'll be honest, I don't really think I had a very good knowledge of what was happening behind me at any point in this race. As I recap the footage, I don't think I looked back once. There was a number of times where knowing who and where the people were behind me would have made a big difference to the way that I was riding. On Zwift, all that information is right there on the screen for you. It kind of makes you lazy. The new Attacker race kit was great. I especially love the enclosed pockets on the jersey. The bibs, although I like the colour, they do show every drop of sweat. Something for me to keep in mind for the future. Finally, a bit of a recurring theme lately for me, but nutrition. I did not have enough water in this race. I packed one 750ml bottle, not enough. Definitely needed two. I did get my carbs right though, probably had about 100 grams of carbs per hour for the race, which seemed to be perfect for me. Okay folks, that's about me for this first road race. Do you have any suggestions based on any of the footage that you've seen here? I'd love some tips and tricks for my racecraft for next time. Were you in this West Head road race? Have you done West Head before? Do you have any tips and tricks about the race in general? Are you thinking about making the leap from Zwift racing into real life racing? Let me know in the comments. Other than that folks, until next time, see ya!